I know y'all remember when Let It Go was a big hit and you heard it so many times. If you heard it one more time, you'd probably go insane. It's probably going to happen here with Frozen 2.
I believe in you, Elsa, more than anyone or anything.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is it. We have our sequel to Frozen, much anticipated to many fans. Others probably not as excited. Tell me in the comments below if you are one of those two people. If you had a chance to see it already, what did you think? If you liked it or if you hated it, what are your reasons? Did you like the first one more? I'd like to know that as well. And don't forget guys, consider clicking on the subscribe button. We talk movies and TV shows on this channel. But in the meantime, let's talk Frozen 2. Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven leave Arendelle to travel to an ancient autumn-bound forest in an enchanted land. They set out to find the origin of Elsa's powers in order to save their kingdom. So I will admit, when the first Frozen movie came out in 2013, I was pretty excited to see it. I worked for Disney, some of you may or may not know this, from 2010 to 2015. When the film came out, it was right around the middle of my employment with them. So I could be a little bit biased when it comes to Disney. I grew up with it, I worked for them, I still love it, I go to the parks. So everything they do in regards to the theme parks, the movies, TV shows, anything, I'll be like, I love it, it's Disney, it has to be good. Well, sometimes there's certain things I don't love as much as others, and other fans can be a little bit more obsessive with certain movies. This is one of them. Around the time the first movie was released, that song Let It Go was heard so many times, and keep in mind, I was working in the parks then, hearing it over and over, people talking about it, seeing the characters, it kind of drove me a little crazy. So for some time I actually stopped watching it. I own the first Frozen movie and I can't even remember the last time I actually watched it. I have Disney Plus and it's on there. I haven't even taken a look at it yet. So I didn't know how it would feel once Frozen 2 would come out, and this has been in production for quite some time. But I walked in with an open mind and I have to say I did like it. Now, I have to say, the first movie is still better than this one, but this film explores a different territory that not many people were probably expecting, being that the first movie was initially planned as a standalone, but Disney didn't realize how big of a phenomenon the Frozen franchise would actually get. Whereas the first movie kind of dealt with the sisterhood between Anna and Elsa controlling her powers and learning to be true to herself and be proud of the person that she is and not to hide anymore. The second one still delves into that relationship between the two sisters, but it also goes into finding out the origins of Elsa's powers and looking into the past. So we go back to the beginning to when her parents were still alive, Anna and Elsa's parents, and I'm not going to be revealing too many spoilers, but it does go back to the point where before the first movie even started, so you get a lot of information that you did not know during the first film into the second movie, and it explores a lot about finding out your inner self, especially with Elsa's character, what she's capable of, who she's meant to be. So the themes of this are very interesting. I like what they're going with. It can get a little bit political at times with this film, with the underlying undertones of what they're trying to tell us, and sometimes the plot can be a little bit confusing, but I do like the themes of, once again, being true to yourself, finding that inner part of yourself that is really important to you, that makes you unique, and to show it to the world and not be ashamed of it. As usual, I have to commend Disney. Every time they bring out an animated film, the visuals are so striking, and this one goes without a fault, that it is mesmerizing to see every moment of this film. Every frame is amazing to look at, and I think that's one thing that tops this movie over the first Frozen film. It was 6 years ago. Every year they're advancing with their technology, and this is by far one of their best visually. That would probably be one of the reasons why I would watch it again, along with the songs are not as memorable as the first movie, but they probably will be. As I said when this video first started, some of these songs will get in your head. Into the Unknown is actually one song I actually do like. I think that will be the Let It Go for this movie. But what I really like in regards to the music are not the songs, but the background score. Very powerful. It feels almost like what you felt in the first Frozen film, but it really immerses you into the movie, and that's what makes this movie so involving to me. It's not much of the story, because the story really wasn't as intriguing as I thought it would be, but really what got me sucked into this film were the vocal talents, of course, of the entire cast, which is the same cast, the visuals, and the score overall. I loved all of that about this movie. But the real question you guys are probably asking, being that you're watching this video, Is this movie worth it? Is it worth the anticipation of waiting 6 years for a sequel? It's a double-edged sword here. I walked out of the theater. I was happy with what I saw. But I also thought that if this sequel was never made, if it wasn't considered to be made or put into production, it wouldn't have made a bit of a difference, because there are a lot of things that happen in this film that kind of contribute to the first film, but it doesn't really matter if it was made or not to affect the storyline. For example, we have Kristoff in this movie. He doesn't really have a big role in this film. He spends the whole time trying to ask Anna to marry him, and he encounters all these situations which prevents him from doing that. And it's something that I feel that should have happened already in the first film. They didn't get married, of course, and this is 3 years later, by the way, between the first movie and the second movie. But there's certain plots here I felt that weren't as important. And another thing that I was thinking of as I'm filming this video is that there's no villain in this film. We're used to Disney having so many iconic villains. Frozen 1 even had a somewhat villain. You can kind of consider Elsa somewhat of a villain, and you also had Hans. In this one, there's not really a villain. It's mostly the conflict that Elsa is going through in trying to find out the origins of where she came from. But that's one thing I really did miss about this movie. Otherwise, it did feel like a Disney film. Now, I'm not going to compare it to other Disney classics like Aladdin and Lion King. Frozen 1, possibly from years to come, we're probably going to look at that as a movie like Lion King and so on and so forth. But there were times I'm watching this movie and I felt that classic Disney feel, and I'm like, okay, it has potential. Other times, not so much. So that's why I'm half and half in this movie. I mean, it could be anticipated to some people, but for others, keep an open mind, because it may or may not be what you're expecting. But this isn't Disney's worst. It's not their best. But it was a great entry, visually speaking. Everything technical was great about this film. It's just the themes, that's what's more important overall, the storyline. But it just wasn't as effective as it was in the first film, in my opinion. But those were my thoughts on Frozen 2. Tell me in the comments below. Once again, guys, what did you think of this movie? And if you like Frozen 1 more than Frozen 2 or vice versa. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you like my review, and don't forget to consider subscribing so we can talk movies, TV shows, and more. I'll see you later.